Why?
Yep, because the NLL is awful.
Okay. So if that happens, take a day off during the week and work Saturday. Like the following week because I'm off.
I already work Saturday?
Well, not.
Okay, yeah.
So,
okay.
But if there is, we're up. We're talking about our schedule.
Great.
Well, now you guys know how we're going to cover the Buffalo Bandits.
There we go.
They get to the NLL Finals Game 3. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Leading the Charge. I am Matt Beauvais. That is Dom Tibbetts.
Hello.
Hopefully you can hear us all. We wanted to do a special episode of this tonight because obviously the NFL schedule is coming out. My water is just off screen, so we will do that right here.
Matt, we haven't gotten the fortune of covering a Super Bowl yet. Is this as close to a Super Bowl for you as it gets? You are probably one of the most excited human beings I know when it comes to like the schedule release and getting the news. Like you are a sicko. You're a schedule sicko.
I absolutely love it. All right. Steve says, it's like what to me, legitimately, one of my favorite days on the football calendar. And people always say, oh, that's super weird. You already know where they're going. But also please remember that this dictates so much of our lives, right? Like when you
100%.
cover a team, obviously where they play, when they play has a big factor on kind of how things go. Now, here's an interesting comment. This is from Tim. It says, schedule out an hour ago, 4 of first 5 games at home, 3 in prime time. So, Tim, here's what's interesting about your comment. You're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong, but the schedule doesn't officially come out for about another 8 minutes. So there had been a lot of different leaks and different reports going out there today. You can put all of the pieces together and figure out what the entire schedule looks like.
Right.
Newsflash, that's one of the things that we do when we get the schedule ready, right? Like you get a working copy of what the schedule looks like, but it doesn't officially come out until 8 o'clock. Now, let me give you a little bit of story about this. So he knows because we've worked together now for a little bit. I make it basically my mission of the day to get this schedule as fast as humanly possible.
Yep.
I'm trying to reach out to people that I know in the industry, and I'm just trying to figure out how this all pieces together. Last year, particularly, I put together the schedule for the Bills, and we had it ready to go. But when they announced the schedule at 8 o'clock, I did not know then, last year, that their Week 4 game against Baltimore was a Sunday night game. I knew that they were playing in Baltimore in Week 4. I assumed it was just, okay, it's a Sunday 1 o'clock game, or maybe it's a 4:25 game. Mm-hmm. So when the schedule came out and I saw that it was a Sunday night game, I was like, whoa, I was not anticipating that. So much so that I had already booked flights, so I had to change them because I thought that it was going to be a normal 1 o'clock game. So that's a long-winded way of saying, Tim, to your point, we think the schedule has already been out for a little bit.
Yeah.
But we don't know until it's actually out there because there might be a couple weird wrinkles that we don't know about.
And if Tim is right, what did he said? The first 3 out of the 5 weeks?
No, it's 4 or 5 at home to start.
4 or 5 at home to start. Well, going back to the primetime thing, if Tim is looking kind of the same thing that we're looking at too, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4 primetime games in the first 6 weeks.
Well, 4 in the first 5, right? Or no, 4 in the first 6.
4 in the first 6.
Which is the same thing that they did last year, actually.
Yeah.
Last year they had 4 or 6 to start the season too. So it's funny how it all kind of works itself out and how history is repeating itself a little bit. We think.
It's still like, regardless, the Bills are going to have a plethora of primetime games. It still doesn't feel, Matt, long ago. Like covering this team, growing up, watching this team, it wasn't long ago that like a primetime game for the Bills, that was like a national holiday. Like the Bills, I remember like the Bills Cowboys.
Bills got a primetime game. It felt like it was the biggest deal. Oh my goodness, the Bills are on Monday Night Football. Oh my goodness, the Bills are on Sunday Night Football, whatever it is. Like those were my early years of covering this team. I mean, you even go back to Josh's rookie year. The entire schedule was 1 o'clock games except a Patriots game, and he was injured for that game, so he didn't even play in that one. It was Derek Anderson starting at quarterback.
That's right. What a nice little throwback there. But yeah, I always say enjoy it because, Bills fans have gone through years and years and years of never having this moment. And now, for as long as I think Josh Allen is the quarterback of this team and they're playing well and successfully, you're just going to continually have this too. So I'm excited. If the schedule works out the way we think so, the first couple of weeks are going to be fun, to say the least.
Now, this isn't a comment from Facebook. This is a comment from Anthony on Twitter, and it says Bills with only 5 standalone games, 8 teams have more. Anthony, that's not actually, once again, based off of what we have seen so far, that's not correct because standalone games aren't just primetime games. Standalone games are also those games that are being played, Well, actually, no. Technically, technically it is correct because a 4:25 game, there could be another game or two that's in that window, but really the entire country is watching. A 4:25 window is the most watched window for any NFL broadcast, and it's why every year the Bills-Chiefs is there. Last year, the Bills-Lions were there. This year, we think it's going to be Bills-Eagles there.
Well, and I think what he's getting at, right, Matt, don't they, when the Bills have had, especially later in the season, when they had the Chiefs matchups, had the Lions matchups, wasn't that there was a couple 4:05 kickoffs, right? But then the Bills and that opponent were the only 4:25 game in a sense. I think that's what he's probably getting at.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just looking at kind of some of the other. We're honestly just waiting on the timing and everything. Jessica, Bills at home, week 1, Sunday Night Football. Calling it now. Go Bills. Jessica, I have a very good feeling that you're going to be right. But once again, we can't really say much until this thing officially comes out. When that's 8 o'clock, and then all of the teams are rushing to try and get their schedule released. Not rushing. I mean, they've had months to work on it.
I mean, it's done. It's been done. It's archived.
Oh, for sure, it's been done. They basically just put the dates and the times onto the video. That's what they work on these last couple of days. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just on those videos, because that's one of my favorite things about a schedule release. The Bills always do a really good job. I know we're a Bills show. We're talking about that. What's one team you always kind of look forward to seeing their video?
The Chargers.
Yeah, okay,
sure.
all right. So it is the Chargers.
Chargers social is just elite. They know what they're doing. Here is the opponent list. Can we put this up? Bang. Look at us doing double boxes. So here's the opponent list, right? Once again, I know that we have known this for months. You know this the day the regular season ends because it all is based off of matchups and seeding and kind of the rotation that is the NFL schedule. The first thing to me that I always noticed about the opponents were how much more difficult the schedule at home is, but how good the matchups are. Last year, this is a place where the Bills were undefeated. They did not lose a game in Orchard Park. So, once again, is that slate very, very hard? Absolutely. But they are a better team when they are at home. So, if they win, I mean, that's 9 games. They win 5 of them. They go 5-4. I would think that first off would be a disappointment to people.
Oh, yeah.
But it would also be you win 5 of those games, you absolutely can win 6 of the other ones.
Oh, for sure.
That's basically setting, you better get to 11 wins. That's almost, I don't want to say the floor because anything can happen, but that to me is you better get better than that. You better do better than that.
Do we both agree the Bills roster on paper right now better than they were in a position last year, 365 days ago?
Yeah,
roughly?
I think I would agree with that. I feel like it might take them a little bit longer to kind of get into that rhythm with the pieces that they lost.
A lot of new faces, right?
Yeah, to an extent. I think that as crazy as it sounds, I think they'll miss Mac Hollins a little bit. I think that they'll miss players I mean, honestly, they didn't really lose a ton of players who made big-time plays for them. Mac Hollins is probably pretty high on the list.
Defensively, I mean, there's more just depth pieces now with the rookie classes coming in. But my point is that I think the Bills are better. On paper at this moment where they are right now compared to what our conversation would have been 365 days ago. We all said, you, me, Joe, and Howard all sat here on our first Leading the Charge when we were making our prediction and went, man, what a gauntlet. If the Bills can come out of those first 6 games last year, I have them Arizona, Miami, Jacksonville, at Baltimore, at Houston, and at the Jets. And that at Miami game, week 2 was obviously on the road. We were 3-3 would be great.
Yeah.
They came out 4-2.
I remember that. Yeah.
So if the home slate is very tough. That's a lot of good teams. I mean, in week 17, you were bringing the defending Super Bowl champions to your house. That's not easy. But if anything about last year taught us what we should lean into a little bit this season, I think it's hey, the Bills are pretty good at meeting and rising to their expectations.
Scotty, will the Bills be favored every game, maybe besides the Eagles? Scotty, good question. I would venture to guess right now, I even think they might be favored against the Eagles. I could see them being small dogs against the Ravens in week 1. I could see them being dogs against the Chiefs. I could see them being dogs against, weirdly enough, the Texans.
It's a Houston kind of sticks out.
Maybe very small.
It's also hindsight 2020. It depends on how they're shaping up. I mean, you're talking a week 12 matchup there too.
Anything could happen.
Yeah, I mean, on paper right now, Philly for sure. And I would probably go Texans.
30 seconds away. 30 seconds away. Not that it's anything crazy, but
it's like New Year's Eve. It's like New Year's Eve for sportscasters. It's great.
So we're waiting, everybody. If we are not paying as much attention to the chat as we should be. I apologize. I think we're just kind of waiting to see the official release come from the NFL, from the teams, from all of that stuff, because we are just 15 seconds away, from that happening. And then we will, of course, comment on...
Count it down. 10, 9.
It's like Happy New Year.
8. Yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah, so here we go. Welcome to 8 o'clock, everybody. The clock has changed. It is 8 o'clock. We are waiting for the official schedule for the Buffalo Bills. All right, the official schedule for the Buffalo Bills, everybody. Sunday, September 7th, Sunday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. That was not a surprise. That is what we knew. They start the season at home with a playoff rematch from last year. The following week, on the road against the New York Jets, 1 o'clock game. The following week, back home in Buffalo for a primetime matchup against the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football, an Amazon game. The week after that, they are at home against the New Orleans Saints for a Sunday 1 o'clock game. The week after that, it is a Sunday Night Football game against the New England Patriots. That game is played on Sunday, October 5th. The week after that, once again in primetime. Ooh, we did not know this. Monday, October 13th, 7:15 at Atlanta.
So that means there's probably 2 games on that. It's kind of like the week 3 Jacksonville situation last year, right?
That's not great for us.
No.
But yeah, we'll talk about that afterwards. Sunday, October 26th, 1 p.m. at Carolina. The bye week is in week 7. Sunday, week 8 is against the Panthers. Week 9 at home against the Chiefs. That is a 4:25 game. Week 10 on the road against Miami. Week 11, back home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The following week, week 12, that is Thursday Night Football on the road, 8:15 against the Houston Texans. The following week, Sunday, November 30th, 4:25 against Pittsburgh. The following week, Sunday, December 7th, that is week 14 against the Bengals. Then the following week, Sunday, December 14th, that's against the Patriots. That's on the road. Then they're also on the road the next week against the Browns. Then they close out at home against the Eagles and at home to be determined against the New York Jets. The stage is set, everybody. The Buffalo Bills schedule is out and ready.
So pretty much the only surprise punch was the 7:15 time change about week 6 for us, according to what we had written down and what we talked about here. But there it is.
Yeah.
4 primetime games in the first 6 weeks.
Yeah, and I think that, there it is, right? Shout out Julia. She's got the schedule ready to go.
Boom.
So there you go. There it is, everybody. Take a look at the Bills' schedule. It is there. It is glorious, and we have made it to the 2025 season because we now know the schedule.
And now 5 primetime games in total for those who are needing to count, who might be bad at math like me.
And it's impressive. I mean, like Tim said earlier, 4 of the 6 to start the season in primetime, week 1, week 3, week 5, week 6. And how impressive is this? Week 1 at home, week 3 at home, week 5 at home. So you're starting with 3 out of your first 5 games primetime at home, 4 out of your first 5 games at home in general. That's absurd.
Because this is why I wrote down last year's schedule map. Week 1, you're at Arizona. Then week 2, you're at Miami. Week 3, you're back home, Jacksonville. And then you were at Baltimore, at Houston, then at the Jets. Monday night, there's a Sunday Night Football, 1 p.m. and a Monday night. So the Bills, by all means, they avoided an international game. They don't have any holiday games. You have a strong home schedule, but you're at a place where you had much success last year. I think this is probably just about as favorable as the schedule the Bills could ever get in their last year of the stadium.
It's funny. It's like almost you're reading what I said. I think this is a really favorable draw for the Bills is what I'm posting on X right now. It's just talk for a second so I can type.
Yeah, no, I what I like about the first 6 games obviously is just the prime time, but I also like the mix of just getting an Atlanta game in there too. Like you go back for all the Bills fans who are probably pretty nostalgic and look back on kind of the Bills come up. I don't know what year it was. I can't think of. I mean, it might have been 2019, the year they ended up losing to the Texans in the wild card round. But I'm sorry, the 2017, the year they broke the drought, they play at Atlanta was the last memory I have of them playing the Falcons. And that was like a huge game where the Bills beat a very good Atlanta team. Matt Ryan was quarterback still for them at the time. And that's where I remember it felt like, oh, wow, like the Bills are ascending, and like they're a team that's actually have a real chance of finally snapping this drought. So you go back in time, we're 7, 8 years later, here we are.
All right, really good point from Scotty here. Great 6 games while Hoyt and Ogunjobi are suspended. Shouldn't be a problem without them. Now, let me add another layer to that, and then we can actually go to Jessica's comment on Facebook. What's interesting here is the week 7 bye week gives the Bills even more time to ramp up those guys coming back from suspension. So now all of a sudden, those guys are able to start practicing week 4. After week 4, they can start practicing. Week 5, week 6, they get to be back with the team in the facility. Then they get the bye week. Then they can come back. So another week for them to get acclimated. So I think it's a bit more realistic that they can kind of hit the ground running a little bit sooner than we originally anticipated. And then that goes to Jessica's comment here that is not a fan of where the bye week falls. Wish it was later. Looks good otherwise. Jessica, I don't disagree with you. I feel like week 7 is probably a little bit too early of a bye week. But it's not uncommon. They have had a week 7 bye week.
Had week 6 byes before.
A couple times in the last few years, kind of during this era. So the other thing that I'll say is the week 7 bye week is a little bit negated, by the week 12 Thursday night game, because then that creates a little bit of a mini bye because they go from week 12 Thursday night football to week 13 at Pittsburgh, but they have 10 days between those 2 games. So it's almost like a little bit of a mini bye week built in after they have the early bye week. And the other thing that we should bring up, we'll bring the schedule back in a minute. Let's look at this. This is the amount of miles the Bills will travel this upcoming season. I don't even know if you've seen this graphic yet. Julia made it yesterday. So look how fancy this is.
Look at this.
So the Bills will travel 10,540 miles in the 2025 season, the second fewest of any team in the National Football League. That's according to bookie.com. Like, they have a favorable draw. The furthest west they are going is Houston,
Texas.
The furthest east they are going is Foxborough for the New England Patriots.
So that's
game.
The only time change, right? Because Houston a central time zone. So they're all East Coast, Eastern Standard Time games.
Right? How crazy is that?
I mean, this is, if you're ever looking for a year to go take full advantage of a favorable schedule with things lining up the way, and I want to go back to one of the comments too about getting Hoyt and Ogunjobi ramped up after week 7 here too. It's not like you have one of those weird kind of situations you had last year where you go look at like 3 straight road games in the beginning of the season. Then you had some weird home games and then a bye week and then back-to-back road games. I'm looking like week 14, 15 last year. You come back and you're at Carolina, then you're home Kansas City, at Miami, and then home against Tampa Bay. It's consistency. You're not building up energy on long home stands, but you're also not draining yourself on having to worry about back-to-back road games in that aspect too. You're trying to ramp up guys. I feel like that's also important too, is the fact that there's consistency. They're going to be able to build a routine in some sense when they get to this portion of the schedule.
Yeah, definitely. It says, Jessica, looks like the home games against premium opponents are spread out, which is good. I totally agree with that, Jessica. Listen, they start week 1 against the Ravens, right? What would you say is the next premium opponent or premier opponent that they're playing? Probably week 9 against the Chiefs, right? After that, then
probably Houston.
Are we
week
considering Houston? I was going to say maybe Houston.
I'd call it, yeah. I mean, that was a great game last year. The Bills lost.
Maybe week 14 against the Bengals, depending on where they are in their season.
And then
week 17 against Philly. Every game except Houston is at home. Like, that should be a huge advantage for the Bills.
You know what's coming. We're going to talk about the Philly game real quick. I do think it's atrocious that the Philadelphia Eagles home game is going to be week 17. I brought this up being that if the Bills run the table again and can clinch an AFC East division title almost 5 weeks out of the season like they did last year, there's a situation where week 17, you're against the defending Super Bowl champions. Josh Allen might not be going full speed. They might actually be in a position, just depending on how seeding goes, where they don't even feel the need to put him in this situation. I know it's the second to last week, but waiting until week 17 to get this really big matchup between two of probably the most notable fan bases, give or take, in the NFL, and you wait till week 17 at home to do this, I don't like that at all.
Okay, but here's my take. That's a good thing for the Bills.
Sure.
Why does that matter?
Sure.
You might potentially not have to need a game against the Eagles.
Are the Bills slipping you a check under the table right now?
I'm just saying, like, it might be a good thing.
No, sure,
you're
maybe.
Not playing them till week 17. Maybe they have something locked up. They don't have as much to play for. Maybe you have something locked up. That would be a good thing. If the Bills have everything locked up by the time of that game, that means that they are going to the playoffs, which is all you're trying to do. This is how simple would this be? This is a little bit unfair, but let's switch it.
Okay.
Move the Eagles to week 3 and the Dolphins to week 17. And I bet you feel a heck of a lot different about the start to the schedule than you do right now.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
oh my gosh, they play Baltimore, Jets, Eagles. Whoa, they better win at least one of those games.
Yeah.
Now, in my head anyway, and I could be completely wrong, but I look at week 1 and I go, the Ravens are a super, super tough matchup.
Of course.
But
always are.
if you lose to them, you better be able to rattle off a win against the Jets, a win against the Dolphins, a win against the Saints. I mean, I think the Patriots are going to be better, but it's a home game against the Patriots.
All right, Bove, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Stack wins early in the season so you're not trying to play catch up, because when you are trying to play catch up, it just makes it that much more difficult.
I'm always a fan of, like, you put it in somewhere in the bulk of the season. Like, I love the timeline of when they played the Chiefs last year, week 11. Like, that game just delivered in every aspect. That regular season game at home against Kansas City, week 11 delivered. I would love if, like, I think you could flip-flop Philadelphia and Tampa. So you drop Philadelphia to week 11, bring Tampa into week 17. I'd be totally fine with that too. I agree with your counterpoint. I think that's a very fair counterpoint because, again, you get to this point where, like, okay, the Bills don't have to worry about nearly as much meaningful games maybe at the end of the season as they do as they're trying to either lock things up. And you don't know. The NFL is a week-by-week league. You don't know maybe how frisky, like, a team like the Patriots or maybe the Dolphins
the
kind of.
Are going to be good.
I think they will. I think
Patriots
they might be frisky. I think you're going to see a lot of growth this year. And then in a year or two, I think Drake May is going to be a little bit of a problem for the entire division.
Scotty, are you surprised with no holiday games? Scotty, I am surprised with no holiday games. Really surprised.
How do they get out of that?
We thought that this could be a schedule that had a holiday game on it. We thought this could be a schedule that had an international trip on it.
I thought they were going to Dublin.
And
I thought for sure.
Oh my goodness, they avoided all of that. Like, I think that I am just really, really, really shocked and surprised that they were able to kind of get out of it in the way that they did. Sorry, we're trying to play catch up on everything because obviously as this is happening, our phones are going off.
Just absolutely ballistic right now.
Just like trying to figure out everything.
Try to get our digital stuff going.
Yeah. So I like the schedule.
See what I mean?
Dumb.
See, there it is. The volume was on. Sorry about that.
Here's a question. Are you media guys happy with no holiday games? Well, Scotty, I have a 2-year-old daughter. So I'm thrilled with no holiday games. I can tell you that for sure.
And I love seeing my family on Christmas and the holidays, So I like Thanksgiving games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of being at home for Christmas. I think like a lot of people are.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have minded another Thanksgiving game. I kind of like really love just the tradition of a Thanksgiving football game. But
Jack,
no, I'm not upset. I can.
Jack, the home winning streak ends right out of the gate, gets the NFL rumbling, sets the Bills on fire going toward KC. Ravens get their revenge.
Hey, now.
I mean, listen. The Ravens are really good. The Ravens are really, really good. They could absolutely come into Buffalo and win that game. They gave the Bills a heck of a game in the playoffs last year, and they had multiple turnovers in that game and still almost won it if it wasn't for a dropped 2-point conversion.
Andrews.
I mean, that's like the Bills were getting the ball back. Who knows? They might have went down the field and scored. But it's absolutely possible that they could slip up there. But that's why I think it sets up well for them, because if they slip up there, they have weeks where they can start to try and stack wins. Like, I am always guilty of giving Miami too much credit. Every single year, I tell you or other people that this is going to be the year that I think the Dolphins ultimately get all win against the Bills. Now, not necessarily 2 wins, but all win against the Bills. But you're at home. Like, you better be able to go on the road and beat Justin Fields and the Jets. You better be able to beat the Dolphins at home on a Thursday night. And you better, more than anything, be able to beat the Saints at 1:00 at home. When you look at the schedule, like, of the games that you would try and put, people go down the line. They go loss, win, win, win. Like, I don't know anybody who's putting an L next to the Saints game, right?
No, it definitely isn't me, but I will tell you one thing. Our friend Howard Simon, if God forbid the Buffalo Bills lose at home to the New Orleans Saints week 4, that guy might literally implode on this set.
This is an interesting one. Housekeeping note. How are the Panthers charging $170 to get into their stadium? What I'll tell you, Zach, is if that's what they're charging, It's not going to be a full stadium because I do not imagine that many people will be interested in going to see that game. So there's a lot of Buffalo transplants in Charlotte.
Maybe they hike the price up too, knowing that, hey, Bills travel well.
Well, there's so many transplants for Buffalo in Charlotte.
I think half of my high school that graduated lives in Charlotte too at this point. Everybody moves to Charlotte.
Diggs returns Sunday night. I mean, we kind of glossed over that. But yeah, Stephon Diggs comes back to Buffalo Sunday Night Football with the Patriots in prime time. Like, that's a little spicy layer.
That is very spicy. And you talked me into it earlier because I also questioned like Sunday Night Football. But then I thought on it more and I'm like, yeah, because that stadium, the reaction is it's going to be all booze, right? Like he's going to get ripped apart when he comes back.
Yeah, he probably will, which is crazy considering how
important he was to the success of the Buffalo Bills, but that's just how quickly things can turn on somebody.
Can I, little tidbit for you here, a little nugget. I guess that's why I'm here. So with the Bills schedule that you're looking at right here, I want you to go all the way to week 18. Week 18 versus New York Jets TBD. That is a home game. That is the last scheduled game inside Highmark Stadium.
Yep.
Now, if they go to the playoffs, there will be they have a home game, obviously. That won't be the last game played inside Highmark Stadium. But who knows how it ultimately plays out. Maybe they go to the playoffs and they don't have a home game. They don't win the division, whatever. They started Rich Stadium with a regular season game against the Jets. This is a long-term storytelling. In 1973, when the Buffalo Bills opened up Rich Stadium, their first regular season game was against the New York Jets. They are closing out their current stadium, the stadium that opened in 1973, once again with a regular season game against the New York Jets.
And what was the result of the opening game at Rich Stadium? Do we know?
I don't remember. I don't know. I wasn't there.
We're going to assume it was a win. So Storybook is going to tell us.
It was 19 years before I was born, so I don't even know exactly. So that's just a fun little like kind of sidebar nugget with the schedule itself and kind of, I love those little, nods to the past essentially.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a nostalgic way. And I love the fact that the Bills have always every NFL team does it. Mm-hmm. I love ending with a division opponent because you just never know. It might mean something. Now, I was trashing my friend Matt here for always giving the Dolphins credit. I will raise my hand and apologize and say I am guilty for doing the same thing that he did with the Dolphins, but with the Jets last year. I was so sure that the Bills were going to lose the division to Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. I thought they were going to finally piece it together, and it was going to be a nightmare of a problem, which it actually turned out to be the exact opposite. So maybe that's a game where you don't even get to see Josh Allen play. A little bit of little backups. Maybe we get a big Tyrell Shavers play again, Get the stadium rocking one last time. Imagine a scenario. Who do you think scores the last touchdown? If, let's just say, a regular season game, not knowing the playoffs, who scores the last touchdown at the current Bills Stadium?
It's so tough because we don't know if it matters.
Right.
Like, it could be anybody.
But that's what's crazy. It could be like Tyrell Shavers.
It could be us.
Could
Put
be.
me in.
Yeah.
Put me in. I'll run a fade route. I'll get into the end zone. It would be perfect. I mean, now people are just saying no Bills. We've got almost 2,000 people watching, so thank you to anybody who's watching. We appreciate it,
guys.
I look at the schedule and I'm like, okay, I'm trying not to be. I like the point that you made earlier when we were talking about it. Last year, the schedule came out, and I think a lot of people who cover the team, who are fans of the team, probably who are on the team, looked at it and went, whoa.
What? Yeah.
That is a hard start. You look at this. There are hard games. They're spread out, though. Mm-hmm. Like, this should be a schedule. The Bills are very good. Like, this should be a schedule that you can take advantage of
100%.
Because there are, let's say, 5 or 6 really hard games, and then a bunch of games that you should win. Somebody asked earlier, will they be favored in every game? They'll probably be favored in 15 and 17.
Yeah.
Like, think about how ridiculous that is. Yeah. Now, you will lose games that you are favored in, but you better not lose 4 or 5 of them that you're
100%.
favored in, because if that's the case, you're talking about a 10-7 floor. Like, I sent it in my group message earlier today of just like, listen, if everything goes wrong, like, you could see a world where they slip up 7 times.
Sure.
But I don't have reason to believe everything will go wrong.
Let's just
say
they
have proven that they are able to kind of get through the adversity that comes with an NFL schedule,
right,
and kind of go through like harder slates than this currently is.
I think what also helps the Bills right now too, Matt, and this is giving credit to not knowing how each of these teams shape up, but it's still such a very winnable division. I mean, the Jets are now going to have a change at quarterback, right?
Julia texted me, read the banner. In first regular season game at Highmark Stadium in 1973, the Bills beat the Jets 9-7. So they started their stadium with a win against the Jets.
Okay.
So when you asked, it was just like, oh yeah,
There we go.
I don't know. Thank you, Julia,
Thank you, Julia,
for putting that into the banner. We appreciate you looking out for us. Otherwise, we would have looked very silly.
But
to cut you off.
no, you're fine. That's a great point. That's exactly why I want to be interrupted, because that proves my point. It'd be a storybook ending. No, so Jets, Dolphins, Patriots. Again, I think the Patriots are going to be vastly improved. I think they're going to take massive steps forward with the development of Drake May and Mike Vrabel. I just don't believe. I'm not going to believe the Jets. Fool me once, not going to happen a second time here. And I just don't believe the Dolphins have shown anything that they can ever match truly with the Buffalo Bills and give them a headache.
Yeah.
Because listen, on paper they should. They should have 2 years ago, right? They should have every year, but it just doesn't happen. So to me, you have a couple slip-ups. You're still in the division where you are the outright favorite, and I wholeheartedly believe the Bills could easily go 6-0 in division play this year.
Yeah.
And that obviously solves a plethora of your problems, because then you lock up the division, boom, playoff spot regardless.
Boom. Roasted playoff spot. What I was just smirking at was that the Rams posted their schedule release video, and they did something with Brenda Song. I don't know if you saw on social media.
From the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody Brenda Song?
Huge Rams fanatic. So it was like known football expert Brenda Song was like she was pretending to be a news anchor. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see the Bills video that they posted. If you have any final questions, let us know. We're going to probably start to wrap up relatively soon here. I thought we wanted to go about 30 minutes. We've gone 40 minutes at this point. A lot of just rambling, but we got almost 2,000 of you who are watching. So thank you for that. We appreciate it.
Very much
for the comments.
How do you now that it's like,
the
excitement's in, like here it is.
Not what I expected, and not in a bad way. It's just different than I anticipated. What I anticipated was this is a little bit more. It's similar to last year, but it's different because the primetime slate is front loaded again like it was last year. So that's not different. But what is a little different is last year it felt like it started hard, kind of softened up in the middle, and then ended hard. This feels like it kind of starts relatively manageable, gets a little challenging, and then ends relatively manageable. So it almost feels like kind of the meat of the season is where it is the most difficult. Admittedly, the first few things I looked at were the first 6 games, knowing the suspensions of those guys. I mean, I look at this window right now. Last year, all we did was talk about, hey, if you go 3-3, you really set yourself up for a favorable second half of the season. I'm looking at these games and I'm like, go 4-2. Like 4-2 to me needs to be basically the floor, because that means
100%.
I mean, that means you're slipping. If you slip up against the Ravens, that's totally fine. But then you better beat, the Patriots and the Patriots and the Falcons. Like if you lose one of those games, whatever, it's not the end of the world. You're 4-2 going into the bye. You come out of the bye to the Carolina Panthers. You better be 4-2 going into the bye week.
And also, I actually think I'll one up you just a little bit. It's like I actually think realistically the floor is 5-1. I think those.
No, but you got to be careful saying the floor, because anything could happen.
Right.
Like if Josh gets banged up and misses a game or two, like that's the floor all of a sudden changes. Now it's survive until he can get back.
But the only game that really, like, let's just say like it's banged up week 1. The rest of that schedule doesn't necessarily scare me if you had to go, let's just say, a game without a Josh Allen, right? Like that's why I feel like the first 6 weeks are so manageable, and you're going in some favorable home matchups. You have good road matchups. You're against your division opponents, teams that you have handled before. The Falcons, I don't know what to make of Atlanta. I don't know enough about them.
They'll be good.
Yeah,
I think that they'll be good.
Maybe frisky. I don't, but I think the Bills in the front part of their season are set up for a very high level of success, which could worry some, because you're like, well, we didn't have that last year. You felt like there wasn't going to be that level of success given how hard the first 6 games appear to be on paper. Well, it's even easier on paper than it was last year to me.
Jessica's asked this a couple times, so I want to answer it. The Bills have too many buys with 2 Thursday night football games. Yeah, they do. And actually, I shouldn't say like it's crazy, but it's very similar to last year, where last year they had a mini bye between week 2 and week 3 because they played on Thursday night football, then they played on Monday night football. So it won't be as long as it was last year, but they will have a mini bye because they are playing the Dolphins on Thursday night football. Then they'll have the rest of that week off and the following week, which is, I mean, for it to be coming as 2 home games is huge, because now there's no travel mixed in, right?
Right.
So you're going at the Jets week 2, Thursday night football at home, Week 4 also at home. Week 5 also at home. Like, I feel like we're not talking about that enough. They are playing three straight home games in the beginning of the season, 4 of their first 5 at home.
Maybe that was the schedule maker throwing them a bone because of the fact they played three straight
three
road games, almost quite literally in the same. It was off by a week, almost in that same exact.
Yeah,
week
last week it was week 4, week 5, week 6.
Yep.
Week 4 was the Ravens Sunday Night Football game. Week 5 was Texans week or 1 o'clock.
Yep.
And then week 6 was Monday Night Football against the Jets.
Boom.
Dom is my witness, I think. Maybe Michael Schwartz is my witness. I already have the entire schedule memorized. I'm excited about that I can just rip through like the name of the opponent and which week they're playing.
He has it memorized. But meanwhile, I was like, are we home or away against Baltimore earlier today? So yeah, no, it's exciting. I mean, OTAs in a couple of weeks. We're back here in the 27th with the Bills, but like this just, how do you not get the juices flowing? Football, it's here. It's going to be here quicker than you know it. Next thing you know, we're going to be at St. John Fisher. And then.
We're supposed to accept an IG collab.
Are we?
Yeah. It's looks like it's up on Leading the Charge. So
electric.
Yeah. So
it's a little behind the scenes. Everybody gets to see us now.
A little IG collab here. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. We went about 45 minutes here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for checking in with us. Shout out to Julia Skevel, our producer, who set kind of all of this up. Michelle, who's in the control room right now. That's Dom Tibbetts. I'm Matt Beauvais. We've got more on the schedule right now on WKBW.com and, of course, on our social channels. We'll have more tonight on 7 News at 11 o'clock. And we have the schedule. It is here. Let's go, everybody. Have a great night. We'll talk to you guys soon. You completely missed the screen
it's a paper.
Bye, guys. Have a